Okay, let's jump right into it. Welcome to this exclusive explainer where we are literally unlocking the doors to one of the most highly classified facilities in the whole country, the United States Secret Service headquarters in Washington, D.C. Now, when you hear Secret Service, your mind probably jumps straight to those stoic agents, right? The crisp black suits, dark sunglasses, earpieces flanking the president. But as we're going to see today, that stereotype, it barely scratches the surface. So let's dive in and uncover the massive, unseen infrastructure that actually keeps this elite agency running. Here is the roadmap for our VIP access map today. First, beyond the black suits. Then, immersive use of force training. Third, the secret ordnance lab. After that, forensics and the ink library. And finally, number 5, the presidential motorcade fleet. Section 1, beyond the black suits, the iceberg of the agency. So check this out. The actual breakdown of their personnel is honestly super surprising. Out of roughly 8,000 total employees, only half, just 50%, are those special agents executing the protective and criminal missions that you see on TV. So what about the other 50%? Well, they are this massive, highly specialized force of administrative, technical, and professional staff. They're the ones operating completely behind the scenes, doing things like tackling complex cyber-enabled crimes, investigating counterfeit currency, and running elite forensic services. The bodyguards we always see, they're really just the tip of the iceberg here. Moving right along to Section 2, Immersive Use of Force Training, the Vertra 300 Simulator. This setup brilliantly illustrates the absolute intensity of their preparation. There's a quote from one of their instructors that really hits the nail on the head. I tell them all the time, this is not a video game, this is real. And they mean it. Trainees actually step into a 300-degree immersive virtual environment. But look, this goes way beyond just fancy surround sound. They carry their standard service pistol, it's a Glock 19, but it's specifically fitted with a laser and a magazine filled with CO2, so it simulates actual recoil. And here is the real kicker. To simulate the intense physiological panic of a real-world threat, trainees have to wear a threat fire shock belt. Seriously, if they make a mistake or if they let a virtual attacker get too close, that belt delivers a stress-inducing physical shock. So with that stress dialed up, the absolutely crucial point is how they're taught to process it. They have to evaluate any potential threat using a very strict 3-step building block approach. Step 1, means, does the suspect actually have the tools to cause harm? Step 2, opportunity, can they physically get to the protectee? And step 3, intent, do they actually mean to do it? Agents have to process all 3 of these conditions instantly. To put that into perspective, in one recorded training scenario, it took a trainee 10.87 seconds to mentally process that deadly force was authorized and actually squeeze the trigger. In the real world and in the simulator, 10.87 seconds is just entirely too late. But you know, their training doesn't just stop in the simulator. It extends out to the actual venues the president will visit. Before a massive event, say something like the Republican National Convention, their technical teams will carry heavy scanning machinery all the way through the venue. They scan literally every single inch and take thousands of photos. Why? Well, they use all that data to build these perfect 3D virtual environments. So agents can then pull up this 3D model right on a touchscreen iPad or a smartphone, drop in virtual security barriers, figure out where to place generators, and basically plan out their exact defense strategy long before they ever even set foot on the ground. All right, on to Section 3, the Secret Ordnance Lab, a working scientific classroom. Okay, this is going to sound like something straight out of a spy movie, but this is an actual working scientific classroom right inside the headquarters. Agents are trained here to identify some incredibly heavily disguised threats. For instance, say you pull a standard credit card case out of a suspect's waistband. Well, it might actually be a single-shot .22 caliber pistol. How about a cell phone case? That could be a 2-shot pistol. Even a functional lighter that actually produces a flame can secretly be rigged to fire a 2-shot gas-propelled dart. It's wild. The lab also educates agents on massive systemic threats, covering everything from chemical and biological warfare agents to blood, blister, and nerve toxins. They carefully preserve these relevant law enforcement and military weapons so the agents know exactly what to look for when they're out in the field. Next up, Section 4, Forensics and the Ink Library, uncovering the written threat. 14,000. Now, despite all the crazy modern technology we have, handwritten threat letters sent to the president remain incredibly common. And to combat this, the Secret Service actually maintains the International ink library. Get this, it is the largest ink library in the entire world. It's totally unique to the agency, and it houses over 14,000 different ink samples dating all the way back to the 1920s. So how exactly do they match a physical threat letter to a specific pen? It's actually this beautifully exact chemical process. Step 1, forensic scientists take tiny microscopic hole punches right from the dense ink deposits on the threat letter. This is usually right where the pen strokes cross each other. Step 2, they take those little punches, drop them into a vial, and add a solvent called pyridine. This immediately begins extracting the ink. Then, step 3. As that solvent works its magic, you can literally observe the ink separating into distinct chemical bands. This creates a completely unique signature that can then be matched directly against those 14,000 samples sitting in their database. But here's the thing, a handwritten letter gives them way more than just the ink. It gives them the actual hand of the writer. After the ink analysis is done, the letter goes straight into a fume hood. Because the reagents they use can be pretty hazardous, a forensic fingerprint examiner will carefully wet the document with special chemicals. As it dries on a rack, latent prints start to appear. And what's really fascinating here is that they aren't just looking for standard fingerprints. Because people rest their whole hand on the paper to write, these examiners often uncover massive palm prints left behind. These prints are then extracted and cross-referenced directly with the FBI's Federal Fingerprint Repository to finally uncover the culprit's identity. And our final stop, Section 5, the Presidential Motorcade Fleet, the Deal Historical Garage in Beltsville, Maryland. The evolution of the presidential motorcade is just a fascinating timeline of defensive tech. Let's look back at the 90s. The 1993 Clinton Cadillac was actually just a standard parade vehicle taken right off the manufacturer line in Detroit, but then it was cut, stretched, and heavily armored. Then, jump to 2006. The Bush Cadillac featured these highly advanced, top-secret ballistic materials. But today's modern parade limousine, the one famously dubbed by the media as the Beast, is an entirely different animal. It isn't just some modified production car anymore. It is completely custom fabricated from a blank sheet of paper to house some truly unparalleled ballistic and defensive capabilities. But of course, the fleet isn't just about the president's limo. It also includes the absolutely vital follow-up vehicles, which are driven by the shift agents positioned right behind the president. There's a really amazing piece of history here with the 1983 convertible follow-up vehicle. Back on October 22, 1983, a hostage situation broke out at the Augusta National Golf Course. Agents actually drove this convertible directly across the fairway, loaded President Reagan inside, and whisked him away to safety. And while they were doing this, agents were literally standing on the exterior running boards of the car with their weapons drawn and totally exposed. Just incredible bravery. Now, here is a quick visual detail you can look out for next time you happen to see the motorcade on the news. How can to tell if the president's movement is official or not? Well, it's actually all in the decorations. If it's an official movement, you'll see the presidential seals and flags prominently displayed right there on the vehicle. But if it's an off-the-record movement, even if the president is securely tucked inside, the vehicle remains totally stripped of any flags or seals, just to maintain a much lower profile. Of course, all these rolling fortresses are pretty much useless without elite drivers behind the wheel, right? Every single career special agent assigned to the president's detail has to pass the grueling 5-day protective operations driving course. And trust me, this isn't your high school driver's ed. Agents are pushed to their absolute physical and mental limits here. We're talking high-speed cone courses, super violent serpentine zigzags, and these really aggressive teardrop turns that require massive straight-line braking. They absolutely have to master controlling these incredibly heavy armored vehicles so they're ready to get the president out of harm's way in a split second. And nothing illustrates the pinnacle of that training quite like the legendary tactical J-turn. I want you to just imagine this. You're in the driver's seat of an armored Suburban, and you are reversing at high speeds to escape a blocked road. Suddenly, the instructor yells, 8 o'clock and back. In one single, explosive, fluid motion, you have to rip the steering wheel with a super tight grip all the way to the 8 o'clock position and then instantly snap it right back. When you do that, the heavy vehicle violently whips around a full 180 degrees, tires completely screaming, which allows you to instantly shift from reverse right into a high-speed forward escape. It requires just an unbelievable amount of muscle memory, precision, and nerve. So from 3D scanning entire city blocks to analyzing microscopic chemical bands of ink to executing high-speed tactical J-turns in heavily armored fortresses, the Secret Service is just so much more than those stoic agents in black suits you see on television. It is a massive, highly technical, and meticulously organized machine. but it definitely leaves you with a final provocative thought to consider. If this is the technology and the training that they are actually willing to show us on camera, what other classified secrets are currently lurking just beneath the surface of the agency? Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer, and keep questioning what lies just out of sight.